What is up, everybody? Mr. Purtis here. Welcome to Unit 6.5b. We're doing a little reform and reaction here. Ottoman Empire. You know, so far we did a little bit on China. We got Ottoman here. We'll do a little Japan, little Russia, 1750 to 1900. Although really we're looking at mid-1800s through the 1900s. Let's rock and roll and get into this. And you know what we're going to do first because we do it the same thing every time recently. It's all about the contextualization. So I'll just say this one more time. If you don't remember what contextualization is what led up to or caused this, you need to do this in an intro paragraph for the DBQ and the LAQ, which is why I'm doing it every time, because I want this to be in your mind, a little skill we're just working on every single time. So here's the deal. The Ottoman Empire was previously a gunpowder empire in the previous time period of 1450 to 1750 and really hits its peak around the 15 to 1600s under, if you forget his name, it was Suleiman the Magnificent, or in the Ottoman Empire, he was called Suleiman the Lawgiver. But the Ottoman Empire at the peak really extended to 3 separate continents, which, just a fun fact, I guess. We have a little Europe, Asia, and Africa, specifically North Africa. And it really, like I said, peaks around the mid-1600s. And from the 1700s onward, it's generally, for the most part, called the sick man of Europe. That's the nickname it's given because everyone kind of sees it slowly losing land and it's decaying and not in good shape. So everyone around the world, people, well, especially in Europe, they call it the sick man of Europe. So we have the sick man here, just a little quick political cartoon. This is the Ottoman Empire. He's got his crutch here and he's looking at the other sick man or another sick man, which is Qing China or the Qing dynasty in China. So we got that. In terms of the problem they're facing, similar to the other places in this unit, or in this subunit, I guess we would call it, they are not industrialized. As Western Europe is industrializing, they are not. And if they were on the other side of the globe, it would really be more of a threat of imperialism. But part of the Ottoman Empire is in Europe. And these countries who are just to the north of the Ottoman Empire are industrialized. And it leaves the Ottoman Empire vulnerable for attack because they have constantly been fighting with these European countries over the course of the 1700s and into the 1800s over control of this Mediterranean Sea. And as the Ottoman Empire is losing land and they are facing these industrialized countries, they're really threatened, and it could be a problem for them. Also, not only they're going to also be losing land as a result of nationalism. They are, if you forgot this, they are multi-ethnic or a multinational empire. Most people who live within the borders of the Ottoman Empire at its peak are not, let me say it again, are not Turkish, and therefore they are of a different nationality or ethnicity. In the 15 and 1600s, this wasn't as huge of a deal, but as nationalism is growing in the 1800s, people who live in the Ottoman Empire start saying, wait a second, all of these countries in Europe are unifying or getting their own country based on ethnicity or nationality. We are not Turkish, therefore we should have our own country. And people within the Ottoman Empire, especially in the European part of the Ottoman Empire, start asking for, fighting for, demanding for their own country, their independence. So we have places like Greece, Serbia, Bulgaria. These places that used to be part of the Ottoman Empire are going to break away, whether through force or through essentially permission, and break away to form their own country, which is not good for the Ottoman Empire because they're losing land as a result of this. So we got to reform. What did the Ottomans do? Similar to the Qing with their self-strengthening movement, the Ottomans have their own reform movement called the Tanzimat reforms. This lasts from 1839 through 1879. So about a 40-year window that this is going to attempt. Their goal is to modernize, westernize, industrialize. All 3 of these words are synonymous with each other. If you see them, they can all be interchanged. It's called westernized because they are trying to improve themselves like Western Europe or like the Western world. They are industrializing, and also it's just trying to bring themselves into a modern type of system and modern type of era. So these are all similar. They're going to really focus on 3 different ways. Number 1 is law. They're going to the goal of the Tanzimat reforms is to make all people equal under the law. So we're taking Enlightenment ideas, similar to what we saw in the French Revolution and the other revolutions around the world, and we're going to try and treat everyone equal based on no matter their race or religion, and treat them equally, which is a good thing if you're trying to avoid people from rebelling and forming their own country out of your country, because now we're going to treat everyone equally in the Ottoman Empire. No special advantage to the Turkish, no Janissaries, Christian soldiers. So we're going to try and treat everyone equally under the law. Number 2 is education. We're going to make education non-religious. And this is a good word to underline and star. This comes up a lot in passages and then sometimes in multiple choice, which is secular. Secular just means non-religious. And the goal in the Tanzimat reforms is to make education secular and not religious, because up to this point, most schools in the Ottoman Empire were religiously based. And now we want them based more on reason and logic and natural rights and natural laws from the Enlightenment, as opposed to based on Islamic teachings and principles. Some people are going to be encouraged to go to Western Europe for school from the Ottoman Empire. So you're going to leave. We're going to see the similar thing. We're going to see something similar in Japan, where you're going to leave and go get educated in London or Paris or Berlin. And then you come back to the Ottoman Empire into Istanbul in the capital, and you bring your Western knowledge back. Lastly is military. We're going to utilize the ideas from European military systems, specifically Germany, and they are going to implement that in the Ottoman Empire to update and modernize their military. This includes mandatory conscription. Another kind of good term here, conscription, is just to be brought into the military, and in the Ottoman Empire, they're going to force people to join the military for a certain number of years. Also, we're going to use technology from Germany, so we're going to try and industrialize our military and better tactics. Here's the problem that they run into. In 1879, a new sultan takes over, a new leader of the Ottoman Empire, and that leader cancels this 40-year Tanzimat reform. So they're kind of building to modernize and westernize, and then the new sultan says, forget this, we're done. And there's going to be a reaction to this, and we really have two camps emerge in the Ottoman Empire, or two groups. We have the old school, which is led by this new sultan, who are religious figures, and they hate the Tanzimat reforms. They believe that the Tanzimat reforms are eliminating or getting rid of this old Islamic culture and Islamic way. And instead, we're bringing in Western influence and Christian influence, and it's going to change the traditional ways. And they do not like, this old school group does not like that non-Muslims are treated equally to Muslims. They do not believe that that should be the case. And they're going to win out at first in 1879 because the Sultan agrees with them. You also have this new school group of people who are led by a group called the Young Turks. And these Young Turks have grown up under these reforms. So imagine you're born in 1870 in the Ottoman Empire. You only know this system. This is what you know. This is what you've learned under. And now, 9 years into your life, or 15 years or 20 years, whatever the case might be, these reforms are canceled. And you're kind of like, bro, we had this equality. I liked what we were doing here. I liked the education system. I liked secular education. I liked that I got educated, and now I got educated in London, and I'm back in Istanbul, and you're getting rid of these reforms. That's not how this should work. So the new school the Young Turks battle this old school, not a war, but just kind of through pen and paper, essentially. And the Young Turks are going to essentially lose out. And in the late 1800s, this old school is going to dominate the political system in the Ottoman Empire, which is not good for it, because we're going to see them back on the decline again. What's going to happen is this group, the Young Turks, are eventually going to take over later on in one of our last units, and we'll get back to them, but I just want to point them out. They do fail to industrialize, but the reforms are going to impact them in the next time period. So they are not a successful industrialization. Similar to China, they try, but it does not succeed. So that's the Ottoman Empire. That's all I got. You got any questions, you write it down. You let me know. I'm out.